Hey guys, what is up? It's Dusty here and welcome back to another episode of the Daily Crypto News. And today, I think we have some very important things to discuss, mostly because within a couple of hours, this weekly candle is going to close. And wherever this thing is going to close is going to be extremely important for the next week. Then again, in the next week, we have a couple of very important announcements, one of them which I have to tell you guys about because that could drastically increase or decrease the Bitcoin price. Having said that, let's take a look right now at one of the most important things that we're seeing in the charts. In my own chart here, it can be seen as everything below the pink. Everything in the pink, I should say, or whatever, right? And what you can see here is that this last candle here, the end point, is hovering around that little top part of the pink. Now, the top part of the pink, I'm saying it in a funny manner, is the 200 weekly moving average, right? And what that basically indicates is over the last 200 weeks, what the average price was, so to speak. And as we can quickly check out here by zooming in a little bit, what we're noticing is right now Bitcoin is fighting a really fierce battle. It's trying to stay above there, but it's struggling pretty significantly, as again, everybody is looking at the exact same factors here that, again, this weekly confirmation will decide everything. Well, why is that? Well, Rand said it as well. Bitcoin is fighting the 200 weekly moving average. This is Rand Neuner, founder of Crypto Banter. If we close above 22.7 thousand, we would have broken a 5-week trend under the 200 weekly moving average, the longest Bitcoin has ever been there. 10 more hours to go. Well, right now, a couple more hours to go. I think like 6 more hours or so, depending on how quickly I can upload this video. But it's the longest it's ever been below this 200 weekly trend. However, another thing to add there is that we always say, well, buying below the 200 weekly moving average is a steal. And then at that point, the steal, quote unquote, is over. Now, looking back, right, it's also kind of a case of, how long will it take before it's going to dip below the 200 weekly moving average again? The last time we dipped below it was March of 2020. And the last time before that was, let's quickly check it out here, all the way since the Pi cycle bottom triggered for the last time. Potentially right here a little touch, but let's just say that December of 2018 was basically the last time before that it happened. So another year and a half or so. It's never been, consistently happening, as throughout the entire 2017 has not happened, and maybe throughout 2016, but I can't even see it. No, not even throughout 2016. You guys are starting to understand how rare it is to be below the 200 weekly moving average, and then specifically for 5 weeks in a row. First time ever, longest time, I guess longest time in that sense because it's the first time ever. But yeah, breaking out, it's never gotten back in quickly. So yeah, that would be pretty bullish if you ask me. Now, there's a lot of talk about the recession. You guys have most likely heard about inflation and about interest rate. Honestly, the most important thing going on is what Binance's CEO commented on pretty recently, the FOMC meeting. This was breaking news yesterday. Binance CEO, CZ, is bullish on the crypto market ahead of the FOMC meeting. And if you don't know, it happens every single month. The FOMC, not every single month, but you understand, you'll see. The FOMC meets 8 times a year. At each meeting, the committee discusses the outlook for the U.S. economy and monetary policy options. Some meetings, asterisks, are associated with Summary of Economic Projections, SEP, which again are the ones with asterisks. For 2021, the FOMC schedule is as follows. January, March, April, June, July 27th and 28th, September, November, and December, with one, summary of economic projections every quarter, and the Federal Open Market Committee tentative meeting schedule for 2022, 26, 27, 27. Just watch for yourself, right? All you have to watch for is the 27th. It's the most important date. Everything surrounding it, you'll see as time goes on. But yeah, in this meeting, a lot is going to be discussed regarding what the next steps are to combat the inflation. Right now, everybody's talking about this 1% rate hike, which has gotten down in probability though. So we're talking about 0.75. If it turns out to be 1, Most likely the markets will react really bearish. If it's going to be 0.75 is what the market expected, but still could be significantly bearish. Why? Well, partially because 0.75 is basically the same as our previous 0.5, right? So what the situation was at that point is 0.5 at that point was not going to combat inflation enough, but 0.75 or higher would basically indicate, yeah, we're surely going into a recession because we're increasing the interest rate by a crazy amount. All right, the amount that they're increasing it with is just astronomical. Again, recently I covered for you guys, I think yesterday even, maybe a couple of days ago, I covered for you guys that over in Europe, for the first time in 11 years, the rates are also going up again. Things are really getting interesting, all right, because every one of us can see that we're slowly drifting into a recession, and the worse that these interest rate hikes are, the quicker it'll happen. On the contrary, this is the only way in which they can beat inflation, so they don't really have any other option. And again, that was interesting. I just saw a little article about Paul Krugman, American economist. Paul Robin Krugman is an American economist and public intellectual. I didn't know that that was a thing you could be. A public intellectual. So that's a nice distinction to have. Who is distinguished professor of economics at the Graduate Center of the City of University of New York, and a columnist for the New York Times. So New Yorker for sure. He says he was wrong about inflation. Summer talks recession, Biden criticizes over half-truths and fibs. In mid-June, red-hot inflation reared its ugly head in America once again, as the latest U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics Consumer Price Index, CPI, which basically showcases prices and how much they've gone up, report indicated that inflation in June rose at the fastest pace in over 40 years. U.S. President Joe Biden has been in office for 18 months now, and media reports are beginning to note his administration was wrong about inflation, and his administration has made dubious claims about inflation's peak. Meanwhile, the Biden administration and a few reports suggest there are signs inflation may have peaked in the U.S. as prices of commodities and oil have dropped in recent times. And then Paul Krugman said he was wrong about inflation. And to be a little bit more specific, let me quickly see how all right, no, it's okay. So I got it. Krugman specifically talked about the American Rescue Plan, and he mentioned that some economists warned it would lead to rising inflation. Krugman said that he, like many other Keynesian economists, were more relaxed about the stimulus package. As it turns out, though, this is a quote, of course, that was a very bad call. Krugman also quickly mentioned Larry Summers, a former economic advisor to ex-President Barack Obama. Summers spoke about the recession recently at the Aspen Security Forum. Summers explained that odds are probably better than half that a recession will start next year. The economist also touched upon the prices of crude oil and commodities and further highlighted problems with the geopolitical situation. Quote, I think this will depend a lot on what happens outside the economic realm, end quote, Summers said at the Aspen Security Forum. It'll also depend on how lucky and how skillful the Federal Reserve turns out to be. They've got a very difficult problem of balancing in setting monetary policy, given the situation in which we find ourselves, he added. Biden is even claiming that 2 negative quarters in a row are not a recession. Hassett, a senior advisor to the National Review Capital Matters, concludes by saying, students of economic history know better. Indeed, there will be no controversy whatsoever when the story of this year is written, and that history is worth keeping in mind while the spin machine spins. The question now can be, what is a recession? But I think this is good enough for right now in terms of a explanation of what is going on in this world. So right now, what we're looking for is Bitcoin to close above 22.7 thousand. Little fun fact. Ethereum is going to close most likely above $15,000. This moving average that we were watching for is actually all the way as low as 1,200. It also signaled a Pi cycle bottom, obviously a little bit earlier. I've never checked the Pi cycle bottom for XRP. It actually formed there as well, which is interesting. XRP, however, is still below the 200 weekly moving average. We need to move above 49 cents to actually get above, which is going to be interesting to watch, as XRP has had a little bit of a different price action than Bitcoin has. It's been below the 200 weekly moving average for a way longer period of time. And so it's a little bit less likely that XRP has to break out or anything of sorts. It's actually been below the 200 weekly moving average for over 400 days in the past. Right now, it's only been below there for roughly around, let's check it out, roughly around 100, let's say 70, let's say, 10, 11 weeks or so. So yeah, not record breaking on the XRP. On Bitcoin, though, I think things are a lot more interesting. A lot more interesting. So let's take a look at this. I still think almost every single indicator is showcasing a bottom is in for Bitcoin. That does not mean that the bear market is over. It means that a bottom is in, we get a reversal, a nice little pump before then breaking back down throughout the next couple of months before again getting back up, because eventually crypto will keep pumping. But that is just me. That was it for today's video. If you guys enjoyed it, make sure you press the like button and subscribe to the channel. And make sure you follow me on Twitter as well, and check the links down below if you're looking to trade crypto.